This is Ty Middlehead Weatherman. Hopefully, you guys are having a good Saturday so far. Well, mentioned in yesterday's video, link will be in the top right hand corner. Video needs a little help with the viewership. If you'd show it some love, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, I mentioned I was going to be talking about Tropical Storm Julia. Tropical Storm Julia became a tropical storm yesterday. I'd say yesterday morning. I didn't quite catch that. I was too caught up in the Arctic blasts that are set to hit the U.S. I'll have a link to those videos in the top right hand corner throughout the video. But anyway, this is what we have here. Tropical Storm Julia. This is an 11 o'clock advisory. It's about an hour old. But we have a 65 mile per hour tropical storm. Central low pressure of 994 millibars, and it is moving dead west at 21 miles an hour, 18 knots. Whichever one you prefer to use. Really, that's the only thing we have going on out in the tropics right now. Other than that, the pattern is relatively quiet and looks to stay relatively quiet. I also have a link to the last tropical outlook I did where I kind of touched on everything there. So we're quickly just gonna touch on Julia here. Mainly just look at what the key messages here will be and where the hurricane watches and warnings are. So as you can see, on both sides of Nicaragua, I don't know why I keep trying to add that extra syllable in there, but as you can see in Nicaragua, we have tropical storm and hurricane warnings on both sides of the country, and we also have tropical storm watches in both Honduras and El Salvador. The storm is expected to move through pretty quickly, but not before dropping a boatload of tropical rainfall, thus increasing the flood and mudslide threat around this region. This area is also very mountainous, very hilly, so there's going to be a lot of valleys where flash flooding is possible and, to be honest, likely. So, rough situation ahead here. This storm is expected to be a hurricane at landfall. When I looked at the satellite earlier, I did see signs that this storm was strengthening. We've been seeing it honestly since last night, and I see no reason as to why it won't continue to do so. So over the next few days, what we're going to expect with this storm is we're going to expect it to make landfall over Nicaragua, become a tropical storm over land, and then either it makes a secondary landfall around El Salvador and maybe towards Guatemala, or it just stays off the coast to the south and then basically brings impacts there and then ends up actually out in the Pacific. This does look like it becomes post-tropical, but there is a chance of it maybe getting into a slightly more favorable environment and redeveloping over the Pacific as a new named storm. I haven't kept up too much with the hurricane season over here as much because the threat to the U.S. has been a little bit more minimal. So I'm not sure what the next named storm is over there. I think they were in like the P or Q names. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on it. But we'll go ahead and take a quick look at the key messages here. Or look at the discussion. So here we are. Julia forecasted to become a hurricane later today. So we have our hurricane warnings in effect for Nicaragua and the islands of Providencia and San Andres, which were those two small red dots that we saw. But that looks like our main effect. Looks like our main area of concern here so far. And then we'll go ahead and look on here, get an idea of how strong Julia could get. And for the most part, we're looking at mainly a Category 1 storm. But there were some suggestions that this could potentially make Cat 2 at landfall. I do think that's a little bit bullish, especially given the satellite imagery. It looked a little bit better last night than it did this morning. But even so, it definitely looks like we're going to have a pretty considerable storm making landfall here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Well, 48 hours, I would say, actually. This thing is moving pretty quick, though, so it could change again. So now let's go ahead and look at the spaghetti models. No surprises here on the track. For the most part, we're kind of leaning towards it, maybe pushing more inland based off of this last group here. This last grouping here, a lot of it's pushing more towards inland Mexico. Still doesn't look like it becomes a threat for the U.S. It may actually bring a little bit of moisture. And if a cold front moves through at the right time, it could become a factor for the southeast late next week or even further out beyond that. Now here we are looking at the strength and intensity here. We have a couple of them that kind of push it to category 2, but for the most part we're going to stay at what's most likely a low to mid-grade category 1. That seems like the most likely outcome. And then of course quickly once it goes over land, it's going to weaken tremendously. And a lot of these have it fizzling out over land completely, which wouldn't be surprising in the slightest given how mountainous the area is. Mountains and hurricanes don't go together, folks, so shouldn't be any surprises there. Again, we're still uncertain as to what this does once it goes through Nicaragua, but it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out from that point. That's pretty much it for this video. Not really a whole lot I'm able to go over here. I don't even know if we'll even be doing much of a video tomorrow because, I mean, it's just like I said, it's pretty quiet right now. Not bad news at all, though, in my honest opinion, but hey. But bear with me, I'll have something either for the weekly forecast, and then we may start taking a look into the other half of October. We'll figure it out, but hey, if you guys like what I've been doing in these last few videos, especially since they've been a little bit shorter and probably easier to watch, definitely leave me a like. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what the weather's like in your area as well. Give me something. But anyway, this is the end of the video. This has been Tyler Metalhead Weatherman. I will see you in the next one.